The Sims 4 July 1st update brought some new bugs and some things that weren't included in the patch notes. Hello, my name is Jennifer and welcome to my Sims 4 news video. So we're going to take a very brief look at that update, including some of the things that weren't included in the patch notes, some troubleshooting tips to follow if you're having problems, a very brief look also at the mod impact, quick summary, many broke, those new bugs, and also the Sims released some information about the pre-made Sims from the Enchanted by Nature. There is the tweet, and I will link to the blog post down below if you would like to see it. But quick summary, they talked about, Mother Nature, she's a Sim, Spruce Almighty is a Sim, and then there are other Sims in the pack that make for some very interesting stories. So first, we're going to start very briefly with that update. So those are the versions for PC, Mac, and console that you should have if you have updated your game. And of course, this prepares the game for the Enchanted by Nature expansion pack. So some things that were new is we got some improvements to inventory. So there's new ways to sort. Spoiled foods are handled differently. So how they're showing is there. And I think that is possibly leading to one of those new bugs. And there's some access to the spoiled stack that's there. So then we move along. The notebook was refreshed. It has a new layout. It has some category page enhancements, discovery badges, a back button, direct access buttons, and console updates. And you can also write a bio on your Sims. That does not travel to the gallery, but actually I think any of this notebook stuff doesn't travel because collectibles disappear when you go to the library. There's also a new household collections interface, so it looks much nicer than it did before. You can sort of see sort of a picture and a summary, and then you click on it to go into the detail. And then when you go into the categories, there's different ways of sorting it, though none seem to be the same as how it was before. And you can get to it from both the notebook and the inventory, which you already could get to it from the inventory before. And of course, the big news is glass walls, which essentially is a new paint coloring that when you apply it to a wall makes it glass, and it matches the roofs that are already in the game. But what it doesn't do is match any glass roofs that are in there from other packs, like the greenhouse kit is the main one. There is actually a report and it is under investigation, but I didn't include that in my big list. I'm just mentioning that here. And then we can put plants on roofs, so anything that sort of fits on there can go on there from build mode, and if you hover over it, it'll tell you whether it's roof placeable or not. Now, new but not included in the patch notes is there's some changes to gardening. Nothing that seemed to cause any real issues from what I could see, but you have the fertilize all and the evolve all, and then some more plant info. So there you can see the fertilize all option. My plants couldn't be evolved. None of them could be. So if they could, you would see evolve all. Now, fertilize all, you need to, when you go to fertilize, you need to have enough pieces of fertilizer in the category that you're using to fertilize all of your plants. Otherwise, it'll only fertilize however many plants that you have, things to fertilize. You can't just use one and fertilize all. So I did it with a stack of 30 something sunflower or something, and it did fertilize my entire garden because my garden was less than what I had in the stack. But that's just something to keep in mind if you're doing that. And then with respect to that more plant info, here's a screenshot. It was nighttime when I got this screenshot, so you can see that it needed to be water, and this was before I had fertilized it, so the fertilizer was depleted, and it just has a little bit more information than it did previously. So for the new CAS items, I got a few screenshots, but not everything. So there's a new hair accessory category and a new hair accessory, which you can see here, this bow. I'm guessing that the pack is adding something for that, so that there'll be more in there than the bow that came in the base game update. And there's this new skin effect category, which is at the bottom of the body accessories there. And there is one already there, and you can adjust it. It has sliders and stuff, and she is a little shiny from her normal skin. I didn't get a screenshot, but there are also more eyelash shades of the existing eyelashes that are already there. So there's no new eyelashes, just that there was black and brown before, and now there's more colors. And then there's some new fingernails that look like they're dirty. The bow is only for teen and up. It's not available for children or younger, but it is available for either gender. There's no gender filter on it. So of course, the other thing that the update did bring was a ton of fixes. So while there are new bugs since the update, it did bring a lot of fixes, more than the 46 bugs that were on the laundry list. There was a total of 126 in the list, but the top one is repeated later on. So there was 125 bug fixes, and there had been 46 bugs noted to be fixed in the laundry list. But of those 125 bug fixes, there were 67 that must have been EA reports, so they didn't have existing bug reports. So anything with an underline there are bug reports, either from the new bug forums or the old bug forums, because they're fixing both. So I'm not going to cover all of them in detail, except for where I think it has an impact. But of course, the main thing is that indoor rain was fixed, which is noted there and again in the season section. The missing objects, they are back except for one or two things from high school years. There's a new bug report for that, but also that's minor. I didn't cover that. That's not the things I'm covering are more new than that, I should say. So I'm just gonna look through here. You can see this page has a lot that were just EA things, and then console had a few that were just EA noted issues that didn't have bug reports. Build mode has some things that did have links to bug reports. Create a Sim has a mix of things that were bug reports and some that weren't, that were just essentially things that EA had noted on their own. EA/Maxi, one and the same. And then here's your expansion packs. There's that issue for seasons with the indoor weather. And, there was an issue where the retail workers weren't showing up for Get to Work. Also for vets should be the same. That was for all of them, not just Get to Work. But so you can see those there. And then we're going to move on here, sort of a mix between the two categories of things from the bug forums and things that EA had noted. These are all from the bug forums. And these ones are a mixture, but mostly from the bug forums, including this one, Agatha and Agnes. They can no longer marry into a household, so they can't be cloned. So they essentially can't come into your household. They're not letting you do that. And I guess that was what was causing them to be cloned. So here's the high school years. So prom's supposed to be back, and graduation's supposed to be back. Social bunny's supposed to be fixed, and so all of these things that were linked to bug reports. So one thing that wasn't in the laundry list is the third item down. Classes back in session. High school goals now show with the active career format. Students can focus on class exams and activities without cancellation or errors. However, that is leading back to the original bug being back, which I will cover when we get to it. And then here we have a few more. The Growing Together, Horse Ranch, only one of those was from the bug forums. For Rent, 50-50 between the bug forums and EA issues. Not the Save Corruption, unfortunately, nor did I expect it. And then here's Lovestruck, which had quite a few. Most are from the bug forums, but there is, some at the bottom that weren't. And then here we go on Businesses and Hobbies, and the first game pack that's noted here. Most of these are EA issues. Only two things there were from the bug forums. And we have Parenthood, Strangerville, Realm of Magic, and Dream Home Decorator. And only one of all of those things was from the bug forums. The rest were EA issues. And then we have here My Wedding Stories, Werewolves, and then the first of the kits. There are some more kit fixes. The werewolf ones were from the bug forums. The other two or not. Here, all of these for the kits were from the bug forums, but this was it for all of the fixes. So here's some basic troubleshooting steps for computer players. Mostly, make sure mods broke very much, and I will briefly show a look at that so you can see essentially how much they broke. So move your mods folder to your desktop. Don't rely on them being automatically disabled, though they were automatically disabled with this update. And, make sure that your saves folder doesn't have any mod settings files in there, because you should move them out if there are. And repair your game in the EA app on Steam. It's verified game files. This is if you're having problems. I also recommend you do this after the update anyways, but just when you're doing your troubleshooting, you should also do this, in addition to deleting your local thumb cache file. And then if your game works with your mods folder out, do the following, essentially check on the status of your mods and custom content, and then you can try doing a 50-50 of your mods. But if the issue persists with your mod folder out, go check the EA forums to see if it's been reported, and if not, consider doing a bug report. And then if that doesn't work, you can do a factory reset of your user files to see if that helps. and Crinreg has a guide which I will be linking to. So let's move along to the mod impact, which again, this is going to be very high level. Luth has a list, Scarlett also has a list, but I'm just going over Luth's list. So this is just her overview here, and she links to the various sections of what to do, and essentially you're responsible for your mods and you need to be able to troubleshoot them. So here is the list of what was newly broken or obsolete at this point in time. And then there is a little part there about not mod related, but I will also be covering that, so I'm not going to mention that here. So now that we've looked at what was broken, here's what was updated at the time that I got these screenshots. And this is more to show you how many have needed to be updated. So there's what I'm getting from my first page, which is like a big long list from there, and it is alphabetical. There's the next part. That second part for me includes Little Miss Sam, which there's a lot there. And then this third one here is the rest. So you can see there was a lot of mods that have been updated already. So there's newly broken, obsolete CIS and build by, and updated CS and build by. Not that much is noted here, but it's possible that there could be more. And then here is the list of mods that were cleared for the patch. So they didn't break and they were cleared. So that's decent length, but still things did break. But one thing that was cleared that was a main mod was Deaderpool's MC Command Center. However, if you are using that, you need to turn off autonomous gardening because that part of it is not working. And here's just a brief overview of the core injector testing and protection mods and what the most recent version is. So one thing to note is that 3 of the mods that other mods rely on, that being Lot 51 core library, the XML injector mod, and the spellbook injector mod, they broke and were updated after the patch. So that means that any mods that relied on them, you need to get those updated versions or they won't work either. So this is just sort of the summary, and the UI cheats broke and it got updated on the 2nd. But you can see this, and I will be linking as usual so you can check it out if you're a mod user. It's one place to go, and another one, as I had mentioned previously, is Scarlett's list. Now we're going to move along to those new bugs. Now I'm going to split this into 2 categories. These are new bugs since the July 1st update, but there were also a few bugs since the June 17th update. One of which in particular is getting a lot of traction, so I'm going to just discuss it. And the other 2 were console, and I already did a separate video on that. So here's just the short list, and you can see that top one, drag to sync trash not working, it has 737 upvotes, and the next one has 321 upvotes, and the one below has 126. The other ones aren't as big, but I'm just mentioning them because there is, I've seen people wondering about some of them. I've experienced most of these issues when I did some testing. So here is that first bug. You can no longer drag many different objects to places. The primary one that I'm seeing is that you can't drag things to the sink or the garbage can, but there are some things like elements can't be dragged to the element rack, and there's a few other ones, but most people are experiencing the issue that you can't drag things to the garbage or the sink. Your Sims have to clean it up themselves, which is a drag. I love the nano trash can, and you can't use that right now. But you can see that EA Cade has commented that the team is aware of and is investigating the issue as they speak. And they hope to have a fix for this release soon. So who knows? Hopefully it'll be out by next Tuesday at the latest. Maybe it'll be out before the weekend. That would be kind of nice. The next one is that the Businesses and Hobbies whiteboard vanishes in the game and it can't be placed. So it's in the catalog, but when you go to try and place it, you get a script failed message. Someone said that it's actually in your family inventory, so it hasn't actually been deleted. It's no longer placeable in the world. And you can see the person here, I said they play on PlayStation 5. That has 321 upvotes, and essentially kind of makes, for me, this pack not as playable because my business has a hobby whiteboard, and that's one of the things I do the most is teach hobby classes. EAK did say that they're aware of and they're investigating, and I haven't seen any updates at this point in time on it. And I did see someone commenting that their game was crashing, but I I tried placing it and it didn't work, and that was it. I didn't have any issues after that. But it does also mean that the businesses that have the hobby whiteboards, in addition to the museum, it's gone there too. Actually, as I'm editing this video, there is a whiteboard bug fix mod for this issue by NativeAir. I will be linking to this in my blog post, and if there are any other bug fix mods that come in after I do the video, I will also add them to my blog post. The next bug is that if you have your Sims try for a baby, the option to take a pregnancy test isn't on the toilet. You can still see if your Sims are pregnant by hovering over their age bar, and it'll say Sims that are pregnant can age up if they're pregnant. But what I noticed when I tested this is that my Sim had the message that Sims that are pregnant can age up, but I couldn't see the option to take the pregnancy test right away. But later on the same Sim day, the option did appear, and I've heard a few people have said that the option didn't appear for them immediately, but it came later. But some people seem to be saying that their Sims can't get pregnant at all. So your mileage may vary in terms of this bug. For me, I was able to get my Sim pregnant on the first go, didn't see the option right away, could tell they were pregnant, and then saw the option later. So I don't know if some of the people just haven't waited long enough and they just see it's not there, or if it's more than that for them. If you do use mods, Lumpenow has a mod fix for this issue, so you can add this to your game if you have this issue in your game. Now, as I had already mentioned previously, high school tasks are not appearing for all teens when you go to school with more than one teen. This is the bug that used to be there before they changed it to use the season UI. Now they've switched back to the active career UI, and now it's only there for the one sim. Essentially, it's the same bug we had before they quote unquote fixed it. It's back again now that they switched back to using that UI. At this time, it's had 37 upvotes. Another one that some people thought was by design was the gnomes are kind of doing a little jumpy jump dancing. They're not moving around, but like on the spot, they're kind of wiggling on the spot. This has had 29 upvotes. I saw it myself. So some people thought it was by design, but EA Cada says it's under investigation, so I don't know. I hope it's something they can fix because it's cute initially, I thought, but I don't like it constantly going on, which is what was happening with the gnomes in my game. So now another bug report. This doesn't have a lot of upvotes yet. It may be that people don't see this type of thing right away, but the Sims aren't getting promoted. They're just getting raises, particularly once they've chosen their branch. That's what this seems to be indicating, even though the title there doesn't say that. But when you read through some of the reports, people are saying that they're getting promoted until they get to where they choose their branch. And then once they choose their branch, they don't get promoted. And it seems like maybe their performance goes up, but then it goes back down to average. But they are getting bonuses and pay raises, but they're not getting promotions above that. Or that's what the people who have done this. I haven't been able to play enough to test that myself, but that's probably one of the reasons why it doesn't have as many upvotes, is because you have to be at the place where you've gone past that to know whether or not it's actually going to affect you. And then another one that I have had is that my Sims are getting random milestone moodlets for milestones they don't have. In my case, they were both negative. I had this hated and sad about it from, making enemies, and the Sim had no enemies at all, never mind any milestones related to having any enemies. And then on another save, the Sim had this sting of rejection from recalling a milestone, and again, there were no milestones that should have triggered that, and that's what this is. In my case, they were both kind of hidden, and it just happened that I was like, what's this blue there? And I'm like, what is this? So I didn't see it right away because it wasn't affecting their mood lap in my case. So you might miss it if it's like that. So next is there's these bugs that were from the June 17th update. And the main one is that there's this traveling and reloading a lot. We'll bring the Sim home from school or work, and then console game preferences keep resetting, and then console is also experiencing crashing in some cases, which, as I said, I'd already done a video on the bottom two, but I'll show them here too. But first, Sims leave job school after another sim travels. Now it's showing it's get to work, and I'm not sure really why, because it's not only get to work. If you travel while your Sims are at school or work, it'll bring them home from school or work. If you happen to have your Sims at school and work and you save and quit and come back in, the Sims will be home from school or work. If you go into create a sim while your Sims are at school or work and you come back out, they'll be back home. So those are some of the ones. If you go to an active career, then that will also bring the Sims home from school or work if they have already left before your Sim goes to work. From what I can gather, high school years and going to school with your teens doesn't take Sims home. But if you go back from high school and Sims were still at work, that'll take them home at that point. So the traveling home will bring them home. But with the active careers, so the active going to work will bring them home. So that can hit the other Sims' performance at their work or school. So I personally have experienced most of this always. So I don't ever travel with my Sims when my Sims are at school or work. I don't go into create a sim when my Sims are at school and work. And I don't save my game and quit if my Sims are at school or work. I always save before they go to school or work or after everybody's home and whatnot. The active career, that's a little bit harder to deal with. So one person said this as a workaround for their active career. Their Sim worked at 9, the one in the active career. The other Sim in the household worked at 8. And so they would keep the Sim who normally worked at 8 home and let the Sim who worked at 9 in an active career leave for that job. And then at that point, they would send the other Sim to work. So they did better with that, with missing the first hour than missing the rest of the day. So, but that's a very exact situation for that to work. I personally would just send the Sims in the active career on their own. And if they really needed to go because they have to do certain tasks, I would have the other Sims take a vacation day or something. And hopefully they're able to fix this soon, because it's not a very good workaround for that type of thing. But at least for the, you don't need to travel, just wait till everybody's home. Don't do the other things. I personally have always done that because I've always had a problem with this, but it definitely seems like it's a lot worse now. Now, this one I had already mentioned before, the upvote count is now at 74. So the console, so this is PlayStation and Xbox, the game preferences keep resetting. I know someone had said if you play offline, it won't, but I don't think that's working for everybody, but it's something you could try. And then there's crashing. This one has 27 upvotes, so it doesn't seem like it's necessarily affecting a lot of people, but it is obviously affecting some, and they had already said that they're looking into this, and hopefully they'll have a fix. But it still needs info, so if you are having this, head on over and add some info. And actually, in general, for all of these bugs, if you've experienced any of them, go over, add an upvote, and where it looks like they need some more information, provide that too. So let me know, what did you think of the update? Did you like what came with it? Have you experienced any of these bugs? I'd love to know in a comment down below. But that's going to be it for this video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!